There are probably as many ways of looking at America as there are people who live here. And while someone else's views might seem too rational, or too emotional, or too spiritual, all are personal. All are different. And all are part of the mosaic of American life, which is ours to put together, piece by piece, day by day.
Yet shining over our land and home.
Welcome to summer with the Mostly Mozart Festival with Gerard Schwartz, the Venerable Shura Tchaikovsky, and the great Thomas Hampson in works by Haydn, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, and Chopin. Tchaikovsky and Chopin. This is supposed to be mostly Mozart.
Wednesday at 8 p.m. on TV 12.
This is Toronto International Airport information. Delta.
Here it comes. The Great Comet Crash, coming July 20th from TV 12. This is TV 12 WHYY, public television taking you around the world every day.
Coming up next on Sea Power. These waters have seen it all. The struggle for survival by early sailors, epic battles for control of the seas and the power and wealth they provide. Empires rising and falling. Great migrations and the birth of nations. Countries divided by might. Countries united in the name of science. I'm Leonard Nimoy. What happens on the waves has always affected the world. Since time began, these waters have been the lifeblood of civilization, nourishing trade and the exchange of ideas, bringing cultures together, tearing cultures apart. In its depths lay clues to cultures past, natural resources fueling the modern world, and secrets to life on Earth. The sea is the lifeblood of the planet, and it is our ageless quest to master it. For whoever controls the ocean, controls.
Funding for Sea Power is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by annual financial support from viewers like you. By the Sun Company, makers and marketers of Sunoco and Atlantic products. The Chicago Board Options Exchange, providing better opportunities for informed investors. And by the people of Toyota, who believe that striving for excellence is a way of life.
People. It's totally dependent on sea power for its survival.
Without this ship, they couldn't get anything from the outside. This ship brings everything the people in Naogashima need for normal life. If the weather is bad, it's very difficult.
The world is full of places like Aogashima, communities that couldn't survive without the lifeblood that flows to them across the sea.
There is an isolation and loneliness that the people who live on our island feel. Because there are only a couple of times a month when the nearest island can be seen. Once, the ship didn't come for 3 months. At that time, we ran out of rice. This whole island is sustained and supported by what the ships bring to us.
Aogashima's needs are modest. Rice, heating oil, a few outside luxuries. Great nations, too, are vulnerable, just like small islands. When the sea lanes are cut, the lifeblood fails, and people starve, economies collapse, and governments go to war. Today, oil is the lifeblood of civilization. Almost half of the world's reserves come out of the sands of the Middle East and is pumped into tankers for transportation around the planet.
A famous ship owner said to me once, God must have been a ship owner because he put what you need so far away from where you need it.
We've got the first offer to Exxon. CPC's going to call us back. He's on with Taipei.
These men are marriage brokers, middlemen between shippers that carry the world's most vital resource and customers that cannot survive without it.
We represent no one in particular and everyone in general.
Jack, Idemitsu's got a couple of relets out there. Idemitsu's got relets out there.
They had the Miyamaru, but...
There is other lifeblood, strategic resources without which no modern nation can survive. But nothing else has the power of oil. Whoever controls its flow controls the economy of the planet.
Miner! Miner! Up! Peter! Peter!
The oil that will fill the tanks of this VLCC, or very large crude carrier, is one of the most dangerous cargoes on Earth. It comes from one of the most dangerous regions on Earth, the Middle East. A single spark, either in cargo or the region itself, could cause an explosion. For those who own the tanker fleets, business is just as risky.
It's been described to me as the world's largest crap game. It's a big risk. It's a big gamble. People take these ships and they ballast them 40 days to the Arabian Gulf, and sometimes they sit for 2 weeks before they charter them. All that expense is borne by them.
Вчера мы послали вам информацию.
Questo nunchi qua, che ha finito non lo sai?
I mean, we've all heard of the Golden Greeks and the rich Norwegians, and I mean, they didn't do it, you know, making apple pies.
Hello, Gustafani? How are you? We're here, but we don't have any news about when we're going to get through. They're going to inform us in an hour or two at the most. So now we'll see.
10 days out of Karg Island in Iran, the VLCC Lenny waits in the Red Sea at the southern end of the Suez Canal. Below her decks are 135,000 tons of Iranian heavy crude.
The way the stories are going, we've started doubting whether we're going to get through at all. They keep saying we'll go through, but we're still here. I understand the wives have been calling you and driving you crazy. Mine must have been among them, I'm sure.
Captain Thanasi has sailed these waters for more than 25 years. Waiting outside the Suez Canal, the world's most vital strategic waterway, is nothing new. Lenny is on year-long charter to the Iranian government. She's stuck until $200,000 in fees is paid to pass through the canal. It won't happen until the Iranians have sold a cargo for the best possible price. It could take days, even weeks.
No one does this job, and no one can say we do this job just to make money. Greeks are guided in everything by the love they feel for the sea. Maybe we do have a dose of seawater in our blood. Who knows?
Lenny waits. A quarter of a mile long at 200,000 tons displacement, she carries just 1.5% of the daily flow of oil pumped up from beneath the earth. It would take 25,000 Lennys to carry the world's annual output of oil. Lenny carries a crew of 25. Captain and officers are all Greek, the seamen from Asia, mainly the Philippines and India.
My contract is only 1 year. This is the first time I have a family and my one child. daughters, but I cannot see my baby. That's it.
If I feel lonesome, feel I'm missing them, so I write some letters, I make some voice tapes. I'm sending every month for them some money for expenses. For me, it's really hard here working inside the tanks.
It's dangerous sometimes, very risky.
Sometimes we feel boredom here, homesickness.
I'm feeling good.
How long Lenny and her crew will wait here is out of Captain Thanasi's control. It's in the hands of the unseen middlemen who control the oil markets of the world.
What you're seeing is the focus of world oil prices are converging into a square space of probably less than 300 square feet. It's within that area that we have a free market of pricing.
It's here that cargoes like Lenny's will be traded. Here her future will be decided.
People are constantly changing their mind throughout the day and shifting the buying of a commodity, then selling the commodity. The next one person says, well, I think it's going to go higher, so he buys it. It goes a little bit higher. And so you have this round robin that goes and goes till it gets to a point where the market forces say that's too high, and then it trades back the other direction. It's not going to do too well for tomorrow.
Rodney Dow is a trader at one of the most volatile futures markets in the world, at NYMEX, the New York Mercantile Exchange, at the World Trade Center in New York.
OPEC's production is somewhere between 20 and 25 million barrels a day. And on the New York Mercantile Exchange, we trade 5 times that volume. Why does that happen? It may change hands 25, 50, 75 times before the final person grabs it and ships wherever it may be. It's like riding a roller coaster. It's up and down, and it never stops.
Suez pilot, this is Lenny calling.
Lenny,
Yes, good evening, Mr. Ahmed. So, I wanted to ask if we have any news. Finally, we transit the canal tomorrow or not?
No, Captain, we didn't receive any instruction, so I think you didn't transit before Monday. If we have any news, I will let you know immediately to prepare your ship.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. I will understand that...
Captain Thanasi won't know his cargo's been sold until the Suez Canal Authority gives him permission to proceed. He has no contact with those who've chartered the vessel he commands.
Attention to everybody. To make a fire drill. Make a fire drill. Everybody in position.
"90% of all tanker accidents are the result of human error. With fire the single greatest hazard aboard, emergency drills are a matter of life and death. Reactions rehearsed so often that they become second nature.
As master of this ship, the first thing I'm concerned about is the safety of the ship, the cargo, the people. We must be aware of everything. No captain can excuse himself from being absolutely responsible.
Captain Thanasi has good reason to be concerned. He has experience of tankers on fire.
So that was when the Iranians were fighting the Iraqis. On the way, we were hit by a rocket, an exocet. It was an experience that cannot be forgotten. We were coming back, loaded with cargo from Tag Island. On the right, the rocket exploded. It exploded, and all hell broke loose.
During the Iran-Iraq War, hundreds of tankers were hit, hundreds of seamen died, and millions of tons of oil were lost as each side tried to cripple the economy of the other.
The bomb hit the gasoline tank in the rear. So the bad part was that as the oil spilled into the sea, it ignited. And it was burning, like an oil well. So the whole sea was on fire. The ship was stopped. The whole right side of the ship was on fire. The paint outside of the accommodations had caught fire. Everything had caught fire. We were all gathered on the right side of the ship. We had the starboard lifeboat ready. Everyone was gathered.
With the lifeblood of the industrialized world at risk, America moved 2 carrier battle groups into the region. Reflagged tankers were now under the protection of Allied naval forces. A precedent was set for superpower involvement that would lead directly to Desert Storm.
We noticed that the incidence of loss was really quite dramatic. We were having maybe 2 or 3 vessels hit a week. I had to travel to the Gulf to go on board one of these vessels. And it was a very frightening experience. It was probably one of the only times that I wished I was back in London sitting here rather than going to see what we insure.
Jonathan Jones is an insurance underwriter at Lloyd's of London. The greatest center of marine insurance in the world, Lloyd's was losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year when the Iran-Iraq war was at its height. Unlike other companies, Lloyd's underwriters, or names as they're known, often have their own money at stake. Jones and his colleagues are gathered together in small syndicates, members personally responsible for all claims. The stakes are high, so are the rewards.
We developed a system whereby we would put people on board a ship, ex-Royal Marine Commandos, to give the crew some degree of safety, to let them know when the Exocet missile was coming to them, that they could get into a sandbagged area so that they would be safe, and after the explosion, they could go and put out the fire. By having this man on board the ship, he would let us know whether the ship's fire hoses were working okay, because we found that on some of them, they were holed and pitted and they couldn't even put out a fire. So the man on board would actually let us know that the vessel was safe, and we would only grant insurance from that moment.
Suez pilot, this is tanker Lenny calling you in me, please, over.
Captain Thanasi and his crew are resigned to these delays. As he says, waiting is a seaman's life. Along with her regular crew, Lenny carries 2 officer cadets, fresh out of the Maritime Academy in Athens, and anxious to learn the realities of life at sea. With Lenny going nowhere, the bridge becomes a schoolroom. It's a duty Captain Thanasi takes very seriously.
Back when I first went to sea, it was very difficult to find someone, a captain or a lieutenant, to spend time with you as a cadet. In a few years, today's cadet will be a captain, and we will be colleagues. I want to transfer as much knowledge as I can. Whatever I know, we travel because we love the sea, not for the money. This shouldn't sound strange because when you're 18, 20 years old, during those tender years, and you come of age aboard the ship, it's impossible to get rid of your love for the sea, because slowly you do fall in love.
While Lenny waits in the Red Sea, her owners, Trudeau Shipping, with headquarters in Piraeus, Greece, worry about finding charters and cargo for the other 31 tankers in their fleet.
There are 2 different ways of chartering a ship. One is the annual charter, chartering a particular ship for a certain amount of time from a certain company. The other is the spot market, where ships are chartered for one specific trip, carrying a specific cargo.
George Frontidakis is ship's agent for Lenny, or ship's husband, as his position is known.
The ship's husband is the focal point, which relays all information between the ships and all the other departments.
Nearly 7,000 tankers carry the lifeblood of the 20th century. Over 100 million tons of crude oil at sea at any one time.
It does seem like chaos, and it is. It's organized chaos. You have every participant in the world who is involved in trading energy. It's an open outcry. Best bid for buyers, best offers for sellers. And you have all the energy of the world focused at that point.
It's a market with tremendous power and influence. An increase of just a few dollars in the price of oil can send economies reeling, nations into recession.
Any second you're sitting here on the desk, some news event could come out that could change history and change what you're doing here for the minute. And you may be on the right side of the market, or you may be on the wrong side of the market. Those who react quickly survive. Those who don't become history.
In the Mediterranean, in the waters off Uluburun, Turkey, are the remains of a ship that sank 3,000 years ago. It too carried the lifeblood of the Bronze Age, the single vital resource without which civilization could not have begun.
Just as our modern world cannot survive without oil, which is brought by tankers, in the Bronze Age, clearly the people could not survive without the copper that was carried by ships from one place to another.
For 9 years, marine archaeologist George Bass has led an international team of scientists and students who come to Turkey to work through the summer diving season.
When I first dived on the Uluburun shipwreck and came up, it was certainly the most exciting dive I'd ever made, to see the rows of ingots just lined up one after another. I'd done another Bronze Age ship. It only had 35 ingots. This has 350. We could see almost 200 just lying out on the seabed. It was a spectacular moment.
Of a ship that size, we're looking at a cargo of copper that may have been more than 10 tons. And when mixed with the tin, this would have been enough bronze to supply an entire small army of helmets, of greaves, of swords, and of hundreds of arrows. So we're looking at a ship, when it sank off Uluburun, meant a tremendous loss for someone.
Turkish archaeologist Kemal Pulak is project director for the undersea excavation.
Oh, it's freezing down there.
Well, moving around down there, you feel like a big fat sumo wrestler. You know, you're afraid you're going to put your fin in the wrong place or push up a little dirt that shouldn't be pushed up. It's pretty exciting.
Just continue to chisel around the copper ingots. You're working on one on the first row, and you're working on the last ingot, the southernmost ingot on the second row. And I suppose that's HFG. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, and these could not have been brought to the West without seafaring. They were as important, these lifelines, these bloodlines of raw materials from the East, as is oil to us today. All right, let's go. Civilizations took off in the Bronze Age. That's when writing started appearing for the first time. That's when we started having colossal statues and monumental architecture appearing for the first time. And one of the reasons why this was possible was because of the need and the easy procurement of metals, primarily due to seafaring. The items on board, the copper and tin, would have been strategic metals of its time, because this is how the armies of the period were equipped.
A shipwreck it's a cliche, but it's a time capsule. It's a miniature Pompeii. You get a picture of life as it was happening in one day, because that ship, when it went down, took everything to the seabed that was being used by the crew, merchants, captain, and so forth on board, passengers if there were any. And so we know what they were eating, what they were trading, what their tools and weapons were like. It's a beautiful picture to bring the past alive.
On the island of Cyprus, 300 miles southeast of the Uluburun shipwreck, village blacksmiths still beat bronze into tools and weapons. They're for tourists now, reminder of a time when copper from Cyprus fueled the economies of the Bronze Age.
It's certain that it was really big business for Cyprus. It was in contact with all the surrounding areas and exporting hundreds of ingots every year to places around the East Mediterranean.
Alison Todd is a British archaeologist who's finding evidence of the people who owned the bronze mines and so controlled the greatest source of wealth in the ancient world.
Okay, let me show you where we found the slag.
Their tombs, some strewn with wealth, are now being found. They were the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, the oil sheiks of their day.
These few and indeed young women had so much wealth of imported materials because they were members of an elite who controlled the copper trade.
In central Cyprus, the Troodos Mountains have been mined for thousands of years. They were one of the most important copper-producing regions in the ancient world. Today, the land is still cratered with the remains of Bronze Age quarries. From these Troodos Mountains, a young trader built up a shipping company that he named after the mountains he loved. The Troodos Line, owner of the tanker Lenny.
We are moving the lifeblood of the world economy.
Stelios Hagianou, son of the founder, is now president of Troodos Shipping. At one time, his father was the single biggest independent ship owner in the world.
You will find very, very few Greek ship owners who have diversified into land-based industries. They reinvest back into shipping, and that's what they've been doing for centuries and generations. Some of the older guys say that we don't have blood flowing through our veins, we have seawater. Most Greek shipping people love the sea, have an affection for the sea as a whole. Not only from a business point of view, most of them live by the sea. If you can combine business with pleasure, I think it's the best way of doing business.
20 years ago, Greeks controlled the largest tanker fleet in the world, almost 20% of all tankers afloat. Now overtaken by America and Japan, the Greek fleet, through flags of convenience, is still third largest.
3 offers in the CPC, maybe a 4th on the way. 22.5%. We got him, Jimmy, worldwide.
In the spot market, broker Steve Cole is chasing charters for his Greek and other clients. He sees the tankers like taxis, cruising the sea lanes of the world, looking for a fare.
This morning early, we put another piece of business on subjects with the South Koreans. It's an Exxon relet that we put on subjects to the South Koreans for an AG to South Korea to move 240,000 tons. That one also started about 4 o'clock this morning, so it's been a long day so far.
It's been a long day at NYMEX as well, but with oil futures looking healthy, Lenny's Iranian charterer is close to a sale.
How long does it take to make a trade in the business? A phone line comes in, Hazak. I pick up another line, I call directly to the floor.
Kodak.
I get a bid offer.
Bid it too.
I lift a bid.
I want to buy 25.21.
Sell an offer. I get a fill back, generally done within 15 to 20 seconds.
You got it.
And it could represent 5,000 barrels or it could represent 1,000,000 barrels.
Just a few seconds to end days of frustrating delay for Lenny and her crew. Lenny's cargo has been sold. Her transit fees through the canal paid. As usual, Captain Thanasi is the last to know.
Hello, Suez pilot, Suez pilot, Suez pilot. This is Tanker Lenny calling. You read me, please.
Lenny,
good evening, Captain. So, can you tell me if finally we transit canal tomorrow morning?
Yes, Captain, yes.
Very well. Thank you very much for the information, Captain. I will be standby always in channel 16. Yeah, Thanasi.
Yes, Thanasi. We're going through the canal in the morning. Yes. They'll inform us about 2 o'clock in the morning as to what our place in line is, what time the pilot will be boarding, and all other relevant information. We should stand by on channel 60. Please notify me at least half an hour before, somewhere around that. I think it will be around 5:38.
Stavros. We've approaching the wedding area. We've approaching the wedding area.
Lenny has entered the gateway to a canal connecting the Arabian Gulf with the Mediterranean. It's a primary artery for Middle East oil and East-West trade.
A good captain is always aware of those tight places in the water, like the Suez Canal. If something happens in the open sea, it can be resolved much easier than if it happens in a confined area like a canal.
Once in the canal, Lenny will be under the control of a Suez Canal Authority pilot. Wessam Hafez is one of those who will guide the tanker all the way north to Port Said at the Mediterranean end.
Suez Canal to Egypt is one of the main income. It is considered the third income for Egypt at the moment. And any mistake, it is not just a mistake, it is a disaster. Because it will close the Suez Canal.
Port 15. Port 15. Another port 15 now, sir.
Lenny is an awkward size, too large to pass through the canal fully loaded, too small to justify the long trip around Africa. The Suez Canal has a draft of only 53 feet. Right now, with her cargo of crude, Lenny draws 52 feet, a safety margin of only a foot.
I'm helping the captain by giving him my experience in the Suez Canal. I have to keep the ship safe. I'm looking for the safety of the ship and the safety of the canal.
Suez is a choke point on the ocean highways. A blockage in the narrow canal can quickly halt the flow of oil. Lenny was designed to sail a different sea lane. Before Trudeau Shipping bought her 5 years ago, she was called the Shoho Maru, shuttling oil from the Persian Gulf to Japan, an island nation totally dependent on imported oil and other essential lifeblood. Islands and island nations often cannot survive without what comes to them from across the sea.
When I lived here, I had no clock or watch. To me, the sea was like an alarm clock. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's hungry.
Kazumi Asanuma used to live on Hachijo Kojima, a small island 300 miles off Japan's main island of Honshu. Such islands show in miniature what happens when the sea lanes are cut, the lifeblood shut off. Over 20 years ago, the ships stopped coming.
I left in March of 1969 at the end of the school year. All the students left to start the spring term in April. The old people followed later, and within 2 months, everyone was gone.
Maintaining a population was no longer cost-effective. Within a year, a community whose ancestry stretched back 1,000 years had vanished from the island.
I remember playing baseball and soccer on the school grounds and going to the beach, fishing with teachers. There were more teachers in the school than students. Sometimes I had 2 or 3 classmates, sometimes only one. For our parents, I think it must have been a sad time, leaving the place where they were born and lived their whole lives.
An island whose sea lanes are cut cannot survive. Island nations like Japan know this only too well. When its lifeblood is threatened, Japan acts. In the 1930s, Japan invaded Manchuria to ensure iron and coal reserves it needed to continue industrial and military expansion. With international pressure mounting and an oil embargo threatened, Japan acted quickly to secure its oil supply, invading Indonesia and securing the Dutch oil fields. As Operation Desert Storm showed, securing or protecting Lifeblood is a first priority in times of conflict.
I had been under air attack for 2 or 3 days, and they dispersed the convoy at 8 o'clock, 2000 on the 4th of July, 1942. In 08:05, the next morning, we got nailed with a torpedo.
I always felt,
These men are survivors of the 20th century's most ambitious and successful attempt to keep the lifeblood of an island nation flowing.
I always seemed to pick a ship that was loaded with 8,000 tons of airplane bombs, and you didn't bother to sleep in your life jacket or your clothes, because if they ever got the little hooker, you were going to be atomized anyway.
After I was captured, I was in a German troop transport, and the British hauled off and sunk that. So I had the distinction of being sunk by both sides. A little bit dubious distinction, but a distinction nevertheless. So, yeah.
In Maryland's Chesapeake Bay, the John W. Brown sails again. It is one of the last remaining Liberty ships of World War II, one of thousands built to keep the Atlantic arteries open between Britain and America. The U-boat blockade was shutting them down. Britain was being starved into defeat.
The U-boats were sinking ships quicker than we could build them until these ships were developed and came on the ways.
To increase our production rate of merchant ships so rapidly that in this year, 1942, we shall build 8 million deadweight tons.
By 1943, it was the largest shipbuilding campaign in the world. Mass production techniques learned from the car assembly lines enabled a complete Liberty ship to be built in less than a month.
There's never been anything like it in the history of the world before or since. I had no idea that there'd be 2,710 identical ships built. You came back to the ship with a couple under your belt, you could very easily climb up onto the wrong Liberty ship because they didn't have much to identify them.
They were the winning factor as far as we were concerned in the war, because without the Liberty ships, they might have gotten over there, but they certainly wouldn't have had anything to work with once they arrived, because we carried all of the supplies to them, gave them everything that they needed.
You couldn't go to an invasion beachhead anywhere without just literally scores of them all anchored as far as the eye could see, and you'd almost swing together. Obviously war, canal closures, any disruption of the normal trading patterns would affect our market somewhat, and affect it quickly. I mean, nobody likes war or problems, but that's, that's the way it goes in our business. So when the Dow Jones is low because of some catastrophe, the oil market's high. That's the way it works. Now, we have enough bad years that we don't feel so badly.
Yesterday, we had a news bulletin that came out where the U.S. and French, British were going to restrict air flights by Iraq below the southern part of Iraq to protect the Shiites. During that period of time, it happened just about noontime. We rallied from 21:30 to 21:40 in less than 5 minutes. What does that represent of profits or loss? If you had a cargo of crude oil on the water, which represents 500,000 barrels of crude, which is an average standard size of cargoes, during that period of time, a 10-cent move in less than 5 minutes, that cargo became $50,000 more profitable in that short period of time.
With her cargo of oil bound for Europe, Lenny is number 6 in line in a 20-ship convoy heading north. It's one-way traffic here, the canal too narrow for ships to pass.
Starboard 10, starboard 10. Big chips.
Nobody is calm when we go through such places. And that's why we're on the bridge. Not that the other officers won't handle it correctly, but the absolute responsibility lies with the captain.
3 times this century, conflict around this narrow waterway has sent the world economies into convulsions.
It is a crazy area. The history of this area is crazy. Always there is problems and war.
When Egypt nationalized the canal in 1956, Europe saw its oil supplies threatened. Britain and France invaded the Suez area in an attempt to retake the canal. Abdel Nasser, Egypt's president, was militarily weak, but he knew he held the whip hand. Ships scuttled by Egyptian forces formed an insurmountable blockade, stopping the world's oil supply dead. International pressure forced Britain and France to accept a humiliating withdrawal. Just a few years of peace, and it was all to happen again. The world was learning just how easy it was to choke off the oil arteries.
If you remember, before 1967, the war between Egypt and Israel, the barrel of petrol was before the war $3.5 for each barrel. After closing the Suez Canal, the barrel of petrol reached $42. This enormous difference between the prices of 1 barrel of petrol affected all the manufacturers, all the transportation, affected everybody all around the world.
Following the 1967 Six-Day War, the canal was shut down for 8 years. But the lifeblood of civilization still had to move. The Japanese were the first to begin building the next generation of tankers, the ULCCs, or ultra-large crude carriers, big enough to make the long trip around Africa cost-effective. They're still the leaders. Never again would Japan allow itself to be vulnerable. With its economic miracle dependent on imported oil, Japan's new supertankers ensured a regular supply.
Some of the ships that were built for, $100 million require $50,000 to $60,000 a day amortization just to keep them running. And the rates now probably, if you equate them out, are somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a day, which is, doesn't really pay for the ships. It seems like we're shaking the tree again in the market, and some of the people that are hanging on by their fingers are falling out of the trees, and companies are going belly up. Some of the owners.
There are now too many tankers in the world, many laid up in Norwegian fjords and Greek bays, empty, silent, waiting for the oil market to change again. But Leni is still profitable. Port Said, Egypt. Transit of the 115 miles of the canal has taken just 16 hours. Today, the canal is calm, guarded by international treaty. But with Islamic extremists active in Egypt, conflict is seldom far away.
Thank you very much for the cooperation.
Pilot Wessam Hafez's job is finished. Captain Thanassi once more has control of his ship. The same boat that takes Wessam away brings ship's husband, George Fragidakis. A routine check on one of the 5 ships he looks after. Captain Thanassi lays in the course, northwest across the Aegean towards the Greek mainland and home. Less than an hour out of the Suez Canal, and Leni's in trouble. Her left rudder's jammed, veering the tanker sharply out of the shipping lane. Grounding is imminent. Captain Thanasi orders full reverse, but it's no use. At sea speed, tankers the size of Lenny need 5 miles to come to a halt. Even at dead slow, stopping can take half an hour. Within minutes, the Lenny runs aground on a sandbar. What might so easily have happened in the Suez Canal, but didn't, now happens just outside.
Well, the rudder just stuck 10 degrees to the boat, and we'll see what we can do. And if we can't do anything, then, you know, we'll see.
Circling Lenny are the vultures of the shipping trade, salvage tugs. With environmental and financial stakes so high, Captain Thanasi must consider every option. If need be, he has the right to sign over his cargo to the salvage company. They can take up to 10%. Millions of dollars for rescuing Lenny from a sandbar.
Οι Έλληνες, σαν ναυτικός λαός από παράδοση,
the Greeks have always been a seafaring people. They are good officers. It may seem egotistical, but I think they are some of the best officers in the world. This is critical now because it's a Greek officer in control of the ship, a Greek officer who must do the work.
A cargo worth $40 million hangs in the balance, its future dependent on Captain Thanasi's skill and experience. Grounding is the nightmare of the tanker industry, its effects potentially catastrophic. When Torrey Canyon spilled 119,000 tons of crude into the English Channel in 1967, it was the worst pollution disaster in history. 11 years later, it was topped when Amoco Cadiz ran aground and 250,000 tons of Iranian crude washed ashore on the French coast. As tankers get bigger, accidents can grow more disastrous. In 1993, the Breyers grounding off Scotland reinforced calls for tougher controls on how the lifeblood of the world is transported across its oceans. But Lenny won't become another statistic. Captain Thanasi uses the engines to rock his ship back and forth, stirring up tons of sand from the seabed. After 3 difficult hours, Lenny pulls free.
We're moving back now. We pick up the anchor, and we're trying to get to the channel.
Το πολύ πολύ να περάσει και αυτός. Πέρασε και αυτός. Ένα μίλι. Άστο να περάσει. Everything is okay now. We proceed to exit the channel. We are between cargo ships Prima and Capricorn. Okay, goodbye. Everything is okay now? Yes, everything is okay. Αυτό βέβαια που έγινε χθες
What happened yesterday doesn't happen often on a ship. It is just as unlikely for the steering wheel on a car to get stuck.
Όσο εύκολο, άλλο όσο δύσκολο και άλλο τόσο εύκολο είναι να
Of course, this is where the luck factor figures into the hypothesis. The rudder could have gotten stuck today. Today, while we're out in the open sea, nothing would happen to us.
In daylight, Captain Thanasi orders a complete check of tank integrity to ensure that no damage resulted when Lenny ran aground.
Of course, there was no damage yesterday, but running aground does not happen often.
Only 3% of tanker accidents cause serious oil spills, but these accidents account for a sizable percentage of all oil pollution in the oceans. Grounding is almost always the cause.
We are trying our best to provide a quality service which is safe and incident-free. And even when we fail sometimes, we fail because this is life. I mean, anything can go wrong in any business at any time because humans are involved. And people make mistakes, unfortunately.
Lenny is nearly home, passing the islands where Greek seafaring began so many thousand years before.
For thousands of years, the history of my country, of Greece, has been tied to the sea. Greeks were pioneers in seamanship out of necessity. How else could they import their goods? They turned to the sea because it was a means of survival for them.
To defend vital trade routes, the Greeks developed the most effective and deadly fighting ship of its age, the trireme. Without the lifeblood that flowed to them across the Aegean Sea, Athenian civilization and democracy couldn't have triumphed.
Athens, as most other Greek cities, obtained the majority of its food supply by importing grain.
Historian Anna Ramou points out that this vulnerability was to cause Athens' ultimate downfall.
In order to do this, they had to control one of the three large grain-producing areas, either the Black Sea, Sicily, or Egypt.
Egypt would be the breadbasket of Europe for the next millennium. In the 5th century BC, Athens tried to take control in Egypt and Sicily. Like other nations since, Athens believed it must control the source of its lifeblood, as well as the sea lanes along which it flowed.
The defense of the nation and the security of their grain supply. These two key issues were discussed 12 times a year in assembly, which illustrates how important they were to Athens.
Athens' expansionist rule was challenged by Sparta, its chief rival, and other city-states in the Peloponnese. 2,500 years ago, these quiet waters saw an epic struggle for power and lifeblood in the ancient world.
Sparta and its allies were able to destroy the entire Athenian navy, 108 ships. After that, the outcome was inevitable. They laid siege to Athens, and Athens was forced to surrender. Athens will never again be the great power it was in the 5th century.
Athens collapsed because its sea lanes were cut. Its food supply halted. Captain Thanasi's ancestors learned a bitter lesson. If nations are to survive, their lifeblood must be kept flowing at any cost. A cargo of oil often changes hands several times while at sea. Lenny could have been sent to Italy, even North America, often not knowing her destination till the last moment. This time, the Greeks on board are lucky. Port is Astropiru, just an hour away from Athens. Captain Thanasi has one final duty on this voyage, supervising the unloading of his cargo as it's transferred to tank farms on shore. From there, it will be turned into the energy that runs the modern world. For Captain Thanasi and his officers, this landfall offers a rare chance to visit home and see families. Long separations are always part of a sailor's life.
If you are going to be in a relationship with a woman, you need to find someone who has as strong a character as possible. You need someone who is capable of living alone. Someone who will be able to manage on her own. Otherwise, things are difficult.
The wives and families will stay aboard Lenny tonight. If he's lucky, Captain Thanasi may have up to a week before Lenny's Iranian charterers send the ship off again. Lenny's cargo is sufficient to supply the total oil needs of a city the size of Athens for nearly 2 weeks. Across the ocean in New York, oil traders and ship's brokers work around the clock to make sure this flow of lifeblood remains uninterrupted.
Plateau is probably going to get the Torino for CPC, and we'll get it then.
We've just had 3 or 4 orders. We've had 2 large ship orders, which are VLCCs, 2 million barrels and up, super ships as you would know them. One is for Exxon from the Arabian Gulf west. The other one is for CPC from Arabian Gulf to Taiwan. So we're chasing tonnage for all of these orders right as we speak.
So this is a good morning?
This is a good morning.
In Paki, Greece, Lenny is ready to sail again, back through the Suez Canal to Corg Island for another cargo of oil. Next time, it may be different buyers, different sellers. But the purpose is always the same, to keep the lifeblood of the world flowing.
Be watching for the next edition of Swiss Rail Journeys as we take a ride on the Appenzell Railway. That's Thursday at 8 p.m. But right now, stay tuned for tonight's POV, the end of the nightstick. That's next here on TV 12.
Funding for Sea Power is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by annual financial support from viewers like you. By the Sun Company, makers and marketers of Sunoco and Atlantic products. The Chicago Board Options Exchange, providing better opportunities for informed investors. And by the people of Toyota, who believe that striving for excellence is a way of life. To order a videocassette copy of Sea Power, call 1-800-345-2690. The entire series is $149.95. Individual episodes are $29.95.
This is PBS.
Welcome to summer with the Mostly Mozart Festival with Gerard Schwartz, the venerable Shura Tchaikovsky, and the great Thomas Hampson in works by Haydn, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, and Chopin. Tchaikovsky and Chopin. This is supposed to be mostly Mozart. That can't be right.
Wednesday at 8 p.m. on TV 12.
On the next National Geographic special, think you have what it takes to brave Alaska? Where an average winter day could be 50 below zero, and your closest neighbor could be 50 miles away. Where the mail only comes 3 times a year, but there are more recipes for moose than you can count. Sound tough? It is. But that's a small price to pay for independence, and you've got to be tough if you're braving Alaska.
Monday at 9 p.m. on TV 12.
It happens every day and night. It doesn't stop when you graduate or reach a certain age. We are all of us learning even now. You see something unexpected, and you let it take you to a new place. It's not important to understand fully, but just to see. Some call it education, but that's only a word. You see something in a person's face, you hear their story, and that teaches you all that they struggle to learn. Maybe you're just remembering something you knew all along, but forgot. It could be we're here solely to remind each other what must not be missed or ignored, but celebrated and finally known. When do we stop learning? Maybe never.
In Chinese medicine, that the body has to move.
This is Toronto International Airport information. Delta.
Here it comes. The Great Comet Crash, coming July 20th from TV 12.